She was found in the back seat of a bullet-riddled Ford. 23 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall. In her hands, a pack of cigarettes and an unfinished poem. On her finger, the wedding ring of the man she never married. The newspapers would call her the gangster of the century, the police a cold-blooded killer, the cinema a romantic icon. But before she became all of this, she was just a girl from Texas who feared nothing more than living a grey, unremarkable life. Her name was Bonnie Parker. She was born in the small town of Ravenna, Texas. Her father was a bricklayer, her mother a seamstress. When Bonnie was 4, her father died, and the family moved to the Dallas suburb of Cementtown, a grey, poor neighborhood, saturated with cement dust, a place where the sky seemed lower than human dreams. But Bonnie knew how to dream. She was a straight-A student in school. She wrote poetry, naive, passionate, full of words like eternity, stars, and flame. She was the best reciter on stage and won oratory competitions. Her teachers predicted she would become an actress or a poet. Anyone but a handyman's wife. But the reality of Texas quickly grounded her. At 16, the desperate Bonnie dropped out of school and married local bully Roy Thornton. A tattoo appeared on her thigh, 2 intertwined hearts and their names.
2 years later, Roy was jailed for robbery and served a long sentence. Bonnie took off the ring, but never filed for divorce. This ring would remain on her finger until the very end. At 19, she worked as a waitress in Dallas, serving coffee to construction workers and cops, smiling, counting penny tips, and jotting down poems in a notebook between orders. She waited. For what? She didn't know. Just for something more.
January 1930. In a stranger's kitchen, visiting a friend, she meets him, Clyde Barrow, 20 years old, a skinny, dark-haired man with a half-smile and the eyes of a man who already knows the smell of a prison cell. He too comes from poverty, one of those whom society has relegated to the curb from birth. They talked all evening about music, about the injustice of the world, about how they would never live like their parents. Bonnie would write in her diary, "I think I found someone who understands me." A few weeks later, Clyde would be arrested for past thefts. Bonnie would write him passionate 4-page letters. And then, she would take her first step into the abyss. She would smuggle a revolver into prison, hiding it under her skirt.
Clyde would escape, but he would be caught a week later and sent to Eastham, a Texas prison farm that the inmates called Hell on Earth. The guards there physically broke people. To avoid back-breaking labor in the blazing sun, Clyde would ask a cellmate to chop off 2 of his toes with an axe. There he swore, if he got out alive, he would take revenge. On the system, on the prisons, on the sheriffs, on the whole world. He was released in February of 32, limping, embittered, no longer the same boy. But Bonnie was waiting for him.
To understand their story, you need to understand America in 32. The country was suffocating in the grip of the Great Depression. 1 in 4 people was unemployed. People lost their homes. Farms were auctioned off for next to nothing to pay off bank debts. The people hated the government, hated the police, and idolized those who defied the system. In the eyes of the desperate poor, a brazen robber with a Thompson submachine gun looked like Robin Hood. Clyde desperately wanted to be this hero, and Bonnie wanted to be by his side. An important detail: the reality of their gangster life was infinitely different from the Hollywood glamour. Their targets weren't large banks, but tiny gas stations, grocery stores, and pharmacies on the outskirts. The loot was $30, sometimes $50. They lived on wheels, slept in stolen Fords, ate cold beans straight from a can, and didn't wash for weeks. Bonnie was 22. She could have loved, written poetry, and drunk coffee on terraces. Instead, there was the endless dust of the Oklahoma and Missouri roads, fear, and the man for whom she agreed to die. She knew the ending of this play from the start.
The gang committed their first murder in the spring of '32. Bonnie wasn't even around at the time, but when she found out, she didn't run away. From that moment on, there was no turning back. They traveled across the states, leaving behind a trail of daring robberies, escapes, and police corpses. In the spring of 1933, Bonnie, Clyde, and several accomplices rented an apartment in the small town of Joplin, Missouri. Neighbors immediately sensed something was wrong. The young men didn't work, rarely went out during the day, and constantly kept the curtains drawn. On April 13th, police arrived at the house. They thought they were dealing with ordinary bootleggers. They were wrong. As the officers approached the door, a burst of automatic rifle fire erupted from inside. A real massacre ensued. One policeman was killed on the spot. The second died later of his wounds. The gang broke out of the encirclement and disappeared. But the worst happened afterward. In their haste, the fugitives left the apartment practically untouched.
Half-eaten sandwiches lay on the table. Yimin's cosmetics lay on the bed. Clothes in the closet. And nearby, dozens of photographs. In them, Bonnie laughed, posed with a revolver, fooled around in front of the camera, and acted like a gangster movie star. The next day, all of America saw these pictures. For the first time, the country saw something other than the faceless criminals from police reports. Crime had a face, and that face was smiling. In one shot, Bonnie stands by a car, her foot on the bumper, a revolver in her hand, and a thick cigar in her mouth. This photo will be splashed across every newspaper in the United States. The country gasped. The image of the cigar gangster was born. Men went crazy for her. Teenage girls copied her pose. Bonnie herself was furious when she saw the newspapers. She didn't smoke cigars. It was a momentary joke for the sake of a photo. She was terrified that her strict mother would see this photo and think her daughter had completely sunk. But the flywheel of popularity was unstoppable. Her poems, found by the police, began to be published in major publications. She got what she wanted. She became famous. But the price of this fame was deadly. June 1933. Another night race on the Texas roads. Clyde, behind the wheel, fails to notice the bridge closed sign. The car plunges at full speed into a dry riverbed and bursts into flames. Bonnie is trapped inside. Boiling acid from the broken battery and gasoline pour onto her right leg, scorching the flesh literally to the bone. Clyde pulls her from the fire, distraught with grief. They are hidden by local farmers. In those days, ordinary people often helped fugitives out of hatred for the authorities. Bonnie survives, but her right leg is reduced to a charred, bent-at-the-knee cane. She will never walk again. And in this terrible, tender detail lies the essence of their union.
not in the romance of gunfights, but in the way a 23-year-old with chopped-off toes limps, carrying his crippled, fragile lover from car to shelter, from one chase to the next. A hunt of biblical proportions was upon them, and they simply clung to each other, because they had no one else left in this cold world.
In the beautiful and prophetic poem, The Ballad of Bonnie and Clyde, she herself will write her own ending. Someday they'll go down together. They'll bury them side by side. To few it'll be grief. To the law, a relief. Frank Hamer, the legendary Texas Ranger, was already hot on their trail. An old, ruthless hunter. He didn't hate them. He was simply doing his job.
It was late.
Hamer figured out their route by pressuring the father of one of Clyde's accomplices. May 23rd, 1934. A rural road in Louisiana, lined with dense pine trees. Clyde drives barefoot. He liked to drive that way. Bonnie sits next to him, wearing a pretty red dress and clutching a half-eaten sandwich. They see their friend's father's truck on the side of the road. Clyde, suspicious but eager to help, slows down. It was a trap. 6 experienced marksmen opened fire from ambush without warning. 167 bullets pierced the metal of the Ford in seconds. Clyde is killed instantly. The last thing the Rangers heard through the roar of machine guns was Bonnie's long, blood-curdling scream. She died seconds after him.
Their deaths sparked a frenzy. Crowds flocked to the scene of the shooting. People tried to cut off locks of Bonnie's hair, tore her bloody dress for souvenirs, and one man tried to cut off Clyde's ear. 20,000 people attended Bonnie's funeral in Dallas. So many flowers were sent that even bookmakers and small-time gangsters sent them. But her final wish was not fulfilled. Bonnie's mother flatly refused to bury her daughter next to Barrow. He took her alive, but he won't have her dead, she said. Today, her grave is in Crown Hill Cemetery in Dallas. Her own lines are inscribed on it. As the flowers are all made sweeter by the sunshine and the dew, so this old world is made brighter by the lives of folks like you. 23 years old. A girl from a dusty workers' settlement who feared nothing more than being unnoticed. She so desperately wanted to become someone. And she did. The only question is, was it worth it? Perhaps on that last sunny morning, in her red dress, looking at the man for whom she gave up the whole world, she would have answered, yes. What do you think? If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to the channel. This way you will help us uncover new, dark and beautiful pages of history. Thank you for watching to the end.